Hi, I wanted to share with you one of my favorite books to read. It's called Some Dog. Look carefully at this dog. I love him. Little droopy little eyes, long ears. George had a good life. Look at him. When the woman read the newspaper, George had a place to rest his weary head. When the man chopped wood, George studied 1,000 cents on the wind. And when they went fishing, George, who couldn't swim, sat and rode in the middle, steady and still. "You're some dog," said the woman. "Some dog," said the man. But the day another dog arrived, everything changed. "He must be a stray," said the woman. "Looks like he's here to stay," said the man. "Wah-woo!" cried George. "Wah-woo!" Not sure George was very excited about the new dog. Like a jackrabbit, the stray leaped back and forth. Yippity, yippity, yip, yip, yip. Then he zipped around the room 3 times. "What a lively dog," said the woman. "Let's call him Zippity," said the man. Now, when the newspaper arrived, Zippity snatched it, flew over the couch, and dropped it at the woman's feet. Good dog. When the man chopped wood, Zippity backflipped and caught sticks in midair. Amazing. When the man and woman biked to the corner store, Zippity ran ahead with the grocery list. By the time they arrived, the shop owner had the groceries packed up and ready to go. What a dog. And look at this. George is riding with him and he's got his little bike helmet on. And when they all went fishing, Zippity jumped from George's back from lap to lap until he dove, caught a fish, and swam to shore. That Zippity is some dog. Yeah, yippity, yippity, yip, yip, yip. That night at dinner, George was too tired to beg for food. At bedtime, he was exhausted, but Zippity snored, "Zeep, zeep, zeep," in his sleep. Look, poor George. He even got kicked out of his own bed. One day, George smelled rain on the wind. But long before long, thunder grumbled. It boom, boom, clang, and rumbled. George didn't mind, but with each clap of thunder, Zippity raced in circles. He plinked, he chewed, he dashed, and crashed until finally, out! He was tearing up everything in the house. He was scared of the storm and he didn't know what to do. But he was breaking and tearing up stuff, so his mom said, "Out." Rain pounded down. Wind shook the treetops. Then, boom-a-crack-clang, Zippity was gone. He was so scared of the rainstorm that he just kept running and running and running. He'll get lost. It's a terrible storm. But George just thumped his tail. At last he'd have his bed all to himself. "George," begged the woman, "go find Zippity." George stretched and groaned. "Come on, George," the man pleaded. "Here, George," the woman said, "smell this." If there was one thing George could do, it was Oops, I'm sorry, I forgot a page. George studied Zippity's blanket. If there was one thing George could do, it was follow a smell. Because he's a hunting dog, so he's really good at smelling. Through whipping wind and needle rain, George led the way. Nose to the ground, he sniffed and whiffed, snorted and twitched. He smelled 1,000 scents, but followed only one. Past a farmhouse in shambles, a clothesline in thorny brambles, George tracked the scent. When the man and woman turned back, George pressed on, following his nose. Up steep steps and down he went, to the top of a seesaw, to the ground again. Along a slippery rail, over a rotted pine, down along the valley through the swampy, murky mire, George kept going, until his nose led him to a shivery, shaking, wet and quaking Zippity, stuck in the thick, oozy muck. Zippity whimpered, Zippity whined. He twisted and turned, he wriggled and churned, but the harder he tried to reach the bank, the deeper and deeper he sank. Wahoo! George cried. Then George stretched himself across a log. He grabbed Zippity's collar and held fast. Slow and steady, steady and slow, George tugged and pulled, pulled and tugged until out Zippity popped. Yeah, yippity, yippity, yip, yip, yip. Boy, was he relieved. He was so glad to be out of that mud. The dogs touched noses. Then George led the way. He sniffed and whiffed, snorted and twitched, following the trail through the swampy, murky mire, over a rotted pine, down a slippery slide, until "It's Zippity!" they cried. "You found him. Oh, George, you're some dog," said the man. "Our dog," said the woman. From that day on, George and Zippy got along just fine. George always had a place to rest his weary head. Every day he studied 1,000 scents on the wind. And when they all went fishing, George rode in the middle, steady and still. And most nights, George didn't mind sharing, even in his sleep. I love this book. Some Dog was written by Mary Casanova, and the pictures are by Ard Hoyt. I think I like this book so much is because of the pictures. They just really show me what kind of dog George was. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.